Next orator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, listening to the reaction of members of the majority in this House, and to some extent, part of public opinion, this budget is marketed as a social budget that is going to alleviate the burdens of the Mauritian population. Fair enough. Better a little thing than nothing. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, let us not forget that since a very long time, we members of the opposition have been constantly drawing the attention of government on the sufferings of the population, especially because of the increases in commodities prices. And we have been requesting for assistance to alleviate the burdens the vulnerable groups. We have not been shouting into the wind when we see that the population is receiving a small part of what it deserves. And I maintain that those small and short-term measures are definitely not sufficient. Those measures will alleviate temporarily the burden, but at the end of the day, they do not cater for the fundamental problems affecting our country. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Minister argues that the 2022-23 budget is written, I quote, with the people, for the people, end quote. After studying carefully the 2022-2023 budget, we can legitimately conclude that yes, in fact, it is a budget made with the people, that is taking more from the people, driving the people deeper into poverty, saddening more the people, but definitely not for the people. Mr. Speaker, sir, this budget has not proposed the real and fundamental measures to take Mauritius out of the dangerous economic and social predicament in which our country is suffering since those past years. Instead, the minister tried to eyewash the population with piecemeal and cosmetic measures which hide the real problems of Mauritian society. Un mal-être grandissant, des augmentations de prix, des commodités de base, une inflation toujours galopante, la corruption généralisée, pour ne mentionner que ce problème. In fact, what has changed since the last budget before the 7th June 2022? What were the real problems affecting the Mauritian population? Let us briefly look at only 8 of them. First, the rising rate of inflation and an impact on the purchasing power. Second, unemployment. Third, sustainable development. Fourth, corruption, waste and misuse of public funds. Fifth, the death of local government. Six, artists, a vulnerable group. And 7, costly but prestigious project. 8, unfairness in education. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me now to briefly develop each of these points and analyze how 2022-2023 budget has addressed them. First, the rising rate of inflation and its impact on the purchasing power. Since so many years now, the rate of inflation has been constantly on the rise. And every year at budget time, we hear the minister saying that this is going to change. He will be controlling this rise and reduce it even. But it is pursuing silently but surely its perpetual rise tendency. One of the main causes of this high rate in the depreciation of our rupee against foreign currencies, especially compared to the dollar, the pound, sterling, and the euro, we pay more rupees for imported goods, which are consequently sold at higher prices. The depreciation of our rupee is a direct result of the mismanagement by government of our economy. Management which is characterized by amateurisme, gaspillage de fonds publics, corruption, and favoritism. And naturally, this economic mismanagement causes the inflation rate to rise dangerously and impact hardly on the purchasing power of consumers, especially those at the bottom of the ladder. The victims of this are once more the Mauritian consumers, the Mauritian citizens. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have witnessed other scandalous price increases. Recently, the diesel and gasoline, which the government could have avoided if only it had really the interest of the population at heart. It decided to hammer more than once the head of the population instead. Et plus grave encore, il faut croire qu'il est interdit de tomber malade dans notre pays because the prices of medicine are becoming almost so high and increasing every week that Mauritian patients are compelled to buy less expensive but mostly inefficient medicine and so continue to bear their suffering. My second point, Mr. Speaker, sir, unemployment. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Minister has once more announced that the rate of unemployment will be reduced to the coming year. How will this miracle happen? The Minister proposes to recruit some 8,000 new civil servants, 1,300 hospital personnel, giving grant to companies to employ youth graduates. The truth is, for the civil servant, the Minister does not talk about those going on retirement and who need to be replaced. Same for hospital personnel. As for young graduates, this scheme exists for so many years now, and with the increase of admission in our tertiary institution, the number of unemployed graduates continue to rise. Mr. Speaker, sir, my third point is sustainable development. The world ecosystem is in great danger. Global warming is not decreasing. New and more severe corrective measures are being applied throughout the globe. Mauritius should not lag behind. Unfortunately, we hear each year in the budget speech that a special attention shall be paid to preserve our ecosystem, but without giving any detail of action to be taken. Same old song this year. We are those fundamental measures to be taken, like protecting more our endangered species, our forests, and agricultural lands. Nothing, but still some effet d'annonce, like mentioning biofertilizers, but not giving any specification like price, availability. On the contrary, the Minister is increasing subsidies on chemical fertilizers. Mr. Speaker, sir, in paragraph 39 of the budget speech, the Minister talked about accelerating our transition to a sustainable and inclusive development model. Where is the model? It is not by providing a number of short-term allowances that we can create a sustainable and inclusive development model. So that brings me to my fourth point, Mr. Speaker, about corruption. The Mauritian political model is sick, very sick. Urgent remedial measures are needed. In fact, this government has adopted an autocratic model of management, a model that oppresses the population, treating it as a stupid child whose only right is to bow down to all government orders. And I'm not exaggerating while saying this. Our people are being ill-treated in their dignity and their self-respect when they are compelled to watch powerless at all this scandal and the impunity extended to some suspects. Corruption has invaded all parts of the country, such that it has grown into a norm, so much so it's normal that commissions are asked and given to important personalities and politician decision makers. Mr. Speaker, sir, we all know that corruptive practices bring more poverty in a country. Those diverted public funds could have been used for economic development and thus reduce poverty. Corruption does the contrary, and is still more act of favoritism where political cronies and close parents, intimate friends or people holding powers are being nominated at strategic posts which carry high salary and allowances. This, of course, goes against the basic principle of meritocracy and transparency. The end result is always bad administration and waste of public funds. In the same vein, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Minister has announced that he is providing 10.9 billion for the police force for upholding law and order. We can request the Minister to see to it that this sum may provide for more personnel, equipment, and other devices to really fight drugs trafficking in the country. We do hear every day arrests of petty dealers, but where are the mafia leaders, the big bosses? Give the police the means to eradicate the poison from our country. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me here quote American President Joe Biden on corruption. I quote, "Corruption is a cancer that eats away at a citizen's faith in democracy, diminishes the instinct of innovation and creativity," end quote. Which brings me, Mr. Speaker, sir, to my fifth point, the death of the local administration. When government came forward with the National Cleaning Agency, I legitimately asked the Prime Minister in my speech on the bill about the future status of local administration in Mauritius. Municipalities, district and village council, no clear explanation was given. And how the Minister of Finance proposes to allocate a sum of 1 billion rupees to this new agency. What about the existing bodies? What will be their role? With half of that amount, empowered local authorities and motivated local administration employees can provide the same service in half the time. But it is a question of allocation of contract, isn't it? Mr. Speaker, sir, this brings me again to the state of local authorities in our country and the hidden agenda of government to wipe out all powers of this section of our political system and pave the way rapidly to the death of Mauritian democracy. It is clear fact that this government does not accept the rules of our democratic system and tradition. Local government is essential for the smooth running of our democracy and the proper administration of local affairs. The local elected members are chosen among the citizens of the villages and towns. They are very near to the inhabitant and are called upon to work in complete proximity with them. This government, since 2014, is trying by all means to reduce the powers of local authorities by shifting the powers to other constituted bodies, by reducing the revenues, by postponing local election. It is sad today to see that our local councillors have become completely powerless, so much so that they have stopped showing any interest in working for the citizens of their localities. Abolishing the payment of municipal rate might be perceived a good measure for the town dwellers, but at the same time, it increases the dependence on central government funding, which is subject to the whim and caprices of the government of the day. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me take an example what is happening in the municipality of Bouba-Saint-Rosil. The councillors, mainly from government political parties, have cut all links with the citizen of the town. They are cut off from reality, show little and very often no care to the problem affecting the town. The state of the roads is still in a pitiful state, with potholes almost everywhere. Lighting, public pavement, repairs take a very, very long time to be done. Waste is being tolerated in numerous corners of the town. Sport and artistic activities have died. Let me here draw the attention of the Minister that why he is proposing to create a National Arts Center at Réunion Morel, Petit Raffray, no mention is made in this budget on work progress and additional fund for the Plaza and Port Louis Municipal Theatre. Mr. Speaker, sir, COVID-19 has particularly hit one category of Mauritian workers, and I come to my sixth point, which deal with our artists. COVID-19 has impacted all Mauritians in all sectors of our economy. State subsidies have been given to support companies and prevent loss of jobs. Fair enough, but what about the artists whose main revenue was drawn from their performance in public, be it in the hotels, in theatre, in public concert? This category of workers have been neglected. Many have abandoned this profession and are miserably trying to survive by performing little jobs here and there. This budget does not bring any hope to the artists that their fate is to be better. And when the Minister proposes to help financial Mauritian artists to participate in international festival, let the Minister know that similar scheme already exists since years now, but which are certainly not been put in practice. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government cherishes prestigious but costly and onerous project. This is my seventh point. This government is a champion in announcing huge projects which are not on the list of the main priorities of Mauritian society. And of course, those costly projects are mainly to be implemented in Côte d'Or, the Prime Minister's constituency. The latest one announced in 2022-23 budget are an Ayurvedic hospital, a police academy, a residential complex for mainly foreign students. We do not contest the fact that our rural region need to catch up on the urban ones, but then why give priority and concentrate all those projects in only one particular place? We get the feeling that this government intends to move our capital from Port Louis to Côte d'Or. Mr. Speaker, sir, my last point for today deals with a sensible sector that is education and fairness in education. Our education system needs permanent improvement. We all agree on this principle. At the same time, government must see to it that no student is penalized concerning the basic need to learn correctly. I'm here mentioning the equipment needed by all students who are following online courses. Many have drawn attention to the fact that many students cannot follow online education because of lack of IT equipment or absence of internet connection. College and university students should benefit from a special subsidy or finance grant from the government to purchase IT basic equipment and be provided free access to internet connection. No Mauritian student shall thus be left out of the system. Mr. Speaker, sir, these are the main problems that the nation expected to be addressed in 2022-2023 budget. Unfortunately, this government, whose ambition is to devise by all means proper and improper and undemocratic to retain power at all costs, have only reacted to the people's exasperation by proposing very short-term measures which were long due with the surge in the price of food basket. So government is just giving back to the people what they have lost because many of economic mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, sir, we would have expected more explicit measures regarding the fight against inflation and the mitigation measures with regard to the depreciation of the local currency, and hear about the reform of non-performing parastatal bodies and also about restoring faith in our institution. But we got all wine in new bottles and rebranding of existing mantras. The 2022-23 budget is simply an electoral budget which is meant to diffuse the unstable social situation in the country and create a feel-good environment to slow down the free fall of the unpopularity index. And once the minister, quoting the Prime Minister, talk of resilience and sustainable development, where is resilient when this government is not able to present a middle-term vision for the Mauritian society? Short-term measures, yes, but what about Mauritian in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Mr. Speaker, sir, in year 2023, we all, especially the young and citizens that care about our common future, have been awaiting in the context of a new world disorder, international economic recession due to the COVID-19, that our government would be coming forward with bold, modern, and innovative ideas and projects to build a new Mauritius, where it shall be pleasant to live and easy to work. Unfortunately, this budget is another instrument government is using to foster its own personal and private interests. This is the agenda of this government, which has tried and is still trying hard to rule without the people in an authoritarian and despotic mode of government. And I'm not being too alarming while saying this. It has been proven how politicians now use non-violent strategies to reach their despotic goal. Pour conclure, Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi de faire un appel. Tout d'abord, je souhaite que mon intervention ne soit pas mal interprétée, qu'il ne soit pas considéré comme un discours d'opposition. Je me considère comme un député responsable qui fait tout pour respecter ses engagements vis-à-vis de son électorat et défendre scrupuleusement ses droits. J'écoute et j'entends la voix de la population. Comme vous tous, même vous de l'autre côté de la Chambre, et les paroles de désespoir et de souffrance qui s'élèvent tout le temps blessent le patriote que je suis. Vous aussi, Monsieur le Premier ministre, Monsieur le ministre des Finances, Mesdames et Messieurs de la majorité, oui, vous aussi, vous avez un cœur. Ne régnez pas. Écoutez les peines, la tristesse de notre nation. Notre pays est malade. Monsieur le Président, notre devoir ici est d'abord de soigner ses plaies et faire ensuite qu'il ne souffre plus à l'avenir à cause de nous, de nos décisions, nos actions, les mesures politiques et économiques que nous leur imposons. Rendons le sourire aux Mauriciens. Redonnons aux Mauriciennes et Mauriciens leur dignité de toutes les communautés, de toutes les bords politiques, de toutes les catégories d'âge mauriciennes et mauriciens. Monsieur le Président, je vous remercie de m'avoir donné l'occasion de dire le fond de ma pensée. La République de Maurice appartient à toutes ses filles et à tous ses fils. Il doit tous, sans exception, être traités sur un même pied d'égalité. Merci, Monsieur le Président.